Tell your tale, shine your light from your inside. Dare to do the bEAR. Let us in on your affair.
Okay, I spent weeks in quarantine. I was once trapped in a New York subway during a blackout. And I've been held hostage at many a boring dinner party.
Yeah.
But my most harrowing brush with captivity was when I was a prisoner at my own home. After college, I moved to New Orleans with my friend Melanie, and we moved into her grandparents' house, which was in an all-black neighborhood called Algiers. And Melanie was probably one of 12 black students at my college, and I was the only white person in Algiers. And so we had kind of switched roles. And I'd hoped my time as a minority would be as uneventful as Melanie's, but that did not happen. One day when I got out of bed and I was getting ready to go look for a job, I went into our parlor room to look for my kind of lucky pen that I'd lost. And the parlor room it was a railroad house. So we had like a parlor, which is like the living room, my bedroom, Melanie's bedroom, and then we'd use the back door in the basement. And the parlor room door was locked at all times. You couldn't get out the front door. And I was looking around the room. I closed the door to look behind the door to see if my pen had fallen behind this little desk. And the door closed, and then when I went to get the door, open the door, it was locked. So the front door was locked, that door was locked. There was one big picture window in the front that let in the sun, and there were no other windows I could open. And it was August in New Orleans, which it was probably 100 degrees, but with humidity, it feels like 130 degrees. And if you've never experienced humidity in New Orleans, it's like someone has jumped on your back. So the heat is just this heavy, heavy heat. So I'm in there with no phone, no food, no water, no distractions, like no phone, no TV. It's like an accidental silent meditation. And I know that I'm trapped there until Melanie comes home in like 8 hours. And there's only, the furniture is there. It's like there's a couch, and then it's facing the wall where Melanie has all of these photographs of her ancestors from generations back. So I'm sitting there on the couch just staring at Melanie's ancestors. And if you've ever been into a silent meditation, basically just you're aware of your thoughts bombarding you at all times. If I was trapped now, I'd be fine. I meditate, I've got it under control. But in my 20s, I was just like a squirrel with a nut in my brain, and I was sweating profusely. So when Melanie finally got home, I looked like a drowned rat that had gone insane. And she's like, what happened? What happened? And I explained. She's like, there's no way, that door is never locked. Like, I don't understand how that could be possible. And I just made the joke. I said, your ancestors were punishing me. and she said very seriously, my ancestors do not punish. They were saving you from something. And I knew exactly what she meant, because when we were in New Orleans at that time, the murder rate was through the roof. It had been so bad that in the French Quarter, which is like the highest tourist traffic area, people were putting signs in the windows saying, tourists, be warned, your life is in danger in this area. And that was shopkeepers putting that sign up. So anywhere you went, you were in danger of getting shot. But my real nemesis in that neighborhood were these group of kids who would chase me on my bike, throw bottles at me, and call me white bitch. So I knew that there was just danger everywhere in this neighborhood. And I knew that I'd been saved. And I really felt grateful that for whatever reason on that day, I was meant to stay stuck in that room. And I didn't know how quickly I would be repaying that gratitude. So I finally found a job, and I'm a bouncer at what's it called? A bar on Bourbon Street. And I don't look like a bouncer, I know, but I was the brains of the operation. I could read the ID card, and I was told that you basically don't let anyone bribe you, and don't let anyone show you their breast to get into the bar, because I was manning the back end. And my co-bouncer was this huge, like, he was the muscles of the team, and he was basically, he had like blonde hair, cut short, like military, and he was like, 1.0 proud boy at that point, and if a northerner, I'm from New Jersey, so going to the south in the States is like going outside the ring bond in Berlin. Like it's another reality altogether, and you cross this invisible boundary. And he was just thrilled that he had like a New Jersey New Yorker. He's like, what's your story? Asking me all these questions. And I'm kind of talking to him and just kind of enjoying the night. And I got off at 5 a.m. and he got off at 6 a.m. And as I was getting off, he's like, where do you live? And I said, oh, Algiers. And that commute required me, I no longer had a bike because I had 3 bikes, and my last bike got stolen after I put a chain that was like this thick around it. And when I went out to my house, someone had just basically chopped it up into little tiny pieces. So I was going to be walking to the ferry, taking the ferry to the West Point for the French Quarter, and then walking through my neighborhood, trying to dodge the kids that were calling me white bitch. So I was not looking forward to that commute, and he said, I'll drive you home. So I was like, great. So I wait in Cafe Du Monde for an hour, and when he shows up, let's just call him Proud Boy, he has a gun and a holster and a gun, outside his shirt. And I knew I'd made a big mistake at that point. I'm from New Jersey. I've never held a gun, seen a gun, thought about a gun, worried about a gun. I didn't want anything to do with a gun. And as soon as we get in this guy's car, he takes his gun out of his holster and just puts it on my lap, basically. So I have this gun on my lap, and then he starts dropping the N-word like somebody new to Berlin starts saying genau. Genau, 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 genau. And I knew in this instant as we're driving, it's probably like a half an hour drive to get over to the West Bank. I knew at this point that I did not want him to know where I lived. I was protective of Melanie. I was protective of my neighbor, Miss Leotha, my other neighbor, Mr. Joe, whose balcony would look into my bedroom, and he'd wake me up each morning by throwing these shells of peanuts that he was eating, and then tell me the story of his sexual exploits the night before. And I loved my neighborhood, so I did not want this guy to know where I lived and cause any of us harm. But I had to figure out, where is he going to drop me off that I can pretend like I'm going to someone's house and he can leave, turn around. So I'm scanning in my mind, thinking, where would this could it be? And there was a little, just before you go out to the ferry from the West Bank to the French Quarter, there was a little key lime pie stand in front of this house, and it was a little white enclave. So some white old guy was selling key lime pies. So I figured I'll go pretend like I'm going to this house and just hide behind that little key lime stand until the Proud Boy goes. So I say thanks, and he's like, you're going to be needing one of these if you're living in this neighborhood. And I said, I think I'm good, thank you, and walk out, pretend I'm walking in this house, and then just kind of duck behind the key lime stand and hide. And he's sitting there waiting. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he knows what I'm doing, he's playing with his radio, but I'm sitting there just ready to piss myself. And finally, his car goes. And I still have this commute home, but it's 6:30 in the morning, nobody's up, it's quiet, it's beautiful. And I get home and I want to tell Melanie the story. And I tell Melanie the story. She's like, I tell you, it's the white people you have to look out for. It is the white people. And I said, yes, yes, yes. So whenever I lived in that house and whenever I passed that wall of ancestors, I just always thought, you got me, I got you. Thank you.